In other news, Once Upon a Time in the West, which is one of Dad's probably favorite movies, directed by Sergio Leone, who was the king of Western spaghetti Western movies, comes out on 4K Ultra on the 13th of May. And listen, this has got so much to it. Let me just quickly run through. You know, you got commentary by host of Spaghetti Western podcast. You've got oh my God, this has just got loads on here. You got commentary from John Carpenter and other directors that absolutely adored this movie. This is like a two-disc set. You've got the classic poster that comes with it, and you've got all of these photographs. And man, if you love collecting physical media, this is like one of those ones that you got to have. Like now, this film, Charles Bronson, is it Henry Fonda? Let me just get that name right. I don't want to mess that up, but it is. Yeah, it's Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda. Henry. I'm going to say that wrong, and they're going to get me for that. But the amazing soundtrack by Enrico, hopefully I said this, Morricone, who was a staple stone of soundtracks when it comes to spaghetti Western movies. Now, this movie is, I don't know, man. Like, talk about being tense in a moment. That was like the first, like they did it in Clint Eastwood movies, but this was like the one with the soundtrack that made you really feel uncomfortable and tense in that moment because it had that loud ding
Yeah, the
ding.
eyes. It was the
Yeah, and the
eyes. It was
eyes, yeah.
always like zooming into the eyes and the intensity of the eyes. Yeah, no, this movie, I agree. First of all, like I said, it reminds me of Dad. Right, there's always gonna have that emotional relationship with this movie
Yeah.
just because of Dad, and Dad used to bust the soundtrack. Like we love our soundtracks. It was Dad that kind of introduced us not only to Western movies but also enjoying movie soundtracks as
Yeah,
music.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then they're like, I feel like this movie and the way it was shot and the intensity of it, like I said, it's imitated in movies today. Like Quentin
Hmm.
Tarantino loves his Western
Yeah, yeah.
movies and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and all these like movies out there that come out now, there's this inspiration that they take from like this movie and Westerns in general and whatnot. But I think it's that and there was something about these movies, especially back then, where where they could just zoom in on the eyes and the face and have the soundtrack and just have an intense moment with no dialogue for like a good couple minutes, man. And they were
Yeah.
able to pull it off. If you tried to do that now, they'd be like, kind of boring, man. Like, let's get on with some action. But there was an intensity back then, and the way they shot it, and we talk about this, the grittiness of the camera and whatnot. I know they're bringing it out in 4K, which is also great, but there's something to do with the environment where you can sit and enjoy and really feel an intensity of a 5 minute clip of just eyes looking at each other and music in the background. I love that, man.
I
But
mean, it's a jewel. It's amazing. I think Sergio Leone took big, a massive inspiration from Japanese cinema as well. The way of the samurai, he that's what it's kind of replicated into, when you talk about Ronin and the Last Samurai and the way those films were shot back then, all in the 60s and 70s, to seeing Western cowboy movies that came out, you can see where he got his inspiration from. And that close up with the eye scene, that's all from like Japanese and Chinese Hong Kong movies. And he's kind of replicated that in a way where it works for Italian spaghetti Western movies, which, still a king to this day, bro. The good, bad, and ugly, bro. It's one of those movies, Fistful of Dollars, you're like staple corners of Western, cowboy movies. And Once Upon a Time in the West is probably one of the best ones that kind of sits up there. So no, I
yeah,
just
and
wanted
they
to
had a
share that with you
way,
guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I just gonna say they had a way of
yeah,
making the characters look so cool. Like
yeah,
Fist of the North Star. Remember Fist of the North Star? It almost feels like when Ken Shiro is walking in, he's the main character. There's destruction going on, but it's just this calmness of walking in and just looking so cool, just looking so like this is the good guy. This is the hero
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
movie. But they were able to replicate that with many of all the different characters, not just the good guys and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
bad
That's
guys,
right.
but everyone just looked really cool and intense and um there's just an epicness about it. Like you feel like when you're walking through the streets and the wind blows, you feel like a part of these movies, you know what I mean? They were able to
Yeah,
capture
yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of
Exactly
memory on
that.
screen.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Now listen, guys, comes out on the 13th. If you're a physical media collector like I am, then it's definitely one to have in the collection. I'm definitely going to get this for Dad. I'm sure he'll enjoy it. Yeah, so looking forward to that. And 4K, I mean, it's a difficult one to see how they're going to restore it and how it looks because that grittiness does give it that feel, but hopefully it doesn't take that away. I think it's just more of a cleaner look for the 4K resolution. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you guys.